Hey everybody, so welcome to another little YouTube lesson. It's funny, I was just listening to a couple of great records that I've been talking to one of my private students with about Stanley Clarke. Even as a 14-year-old or 13-year-old, this was always my favorite. And this is, I was lucky I found this original copy still in the shrink. Very nice, look at that. Journey to Love. This was and still is my favorite Stanley Clarke recording. It's a fantastic album because it has Silly Putty, the first track. I mean, that's just such a great opening, just that 10. Yeah, you can't hear that without kind of thinking of that Stanley tune. But the track I want to talk to you about today is, I think, one of my favorite Stanley Clarke compositions. It's kind of a bit of an iconic track. And it's Song to John Part 2, which kicks off side 2 of the vinyl record. And it's a trio performance with John McLaughlin on acoustic nylon, actually steel string guitar, and I think he's playing maybe an ovation on that. And Chick Corea on piano, who is just dazzling. I mean, they all are such a great trio. The sort of chemistry between these three guys is pretty remarkable. And I've seen a few sort of YouTube videos, like appreciation videos of this, but no one's really talking about the music on it much. It's sort of like a little bit abstract. And, you know, kind of think we should sort of dive into it a little bit today. So one of the things that was sort of noteworthy of this melody, and I remember learning this as a teen, was that use of the Lydian sound. And the chord progression, basically we're going from C major 7 to an A minor, and then it goes to a B flat sus chord and back to C. I've seen some versions online, even on the iRoll Pro, where the chords, I think this chord is written as an F minor 9. It's not really, if you listen to Stanley, he's playing a B flat, like a lot of B flat and F, like root 5th thing in there. So it really, think of it as a B flat sus, that chord. And it's fairly simple harmonically, but this melody is just gorgeous. Listen to that opening line, that. I play it here, you could go, but I think it's too much of a jump, so. Could also go play an open A there too if you're on, or there as well. First point with any of these tunes, like learn to play these like everywhere on the instrument that makes sense for you, you know. Learning melodies on the bass, learning lines, you know, melodic lines is a great thing to do. But take full advantage of that by learning stuff in different positions. So, this opening melody, if we imagine we're over a C major or a C major 7, right? And Stanley plays, well, the whole band, so that F sharp is really featured, so that's that sharp 4. So, we could look at this as being extracted from the Lydian mode. The chord is a C major or C major 7, right? But Stanley's playing an F sharp over this. This gives it a Lydian or raised 4th flavor. Now, C Lydian, maybe a lot of you will know this, but I'll just go over this for a second. The modes we can find built on each step of a parent scale. So from the major scale, we have modes built off every step. The first step is actually the Ionian, but the 4th step gives us another major type mode or scale, and it's the Lydian mode. It differs from the major scale by 1 note. The 4th step is raised by a half step, gives you that Lydian. So when you read or hear about people talking about Lydian sound, we're talking about that raised 4th. A Lydian augmented from melodic minor, it's the 3rd step melodic minor, not only has the Lydian raised 4th, but an augmented or raised 5th, right, sharpened 5th. But this Lydian mode, just think of it as a major scale with a raised 4th. So C Lydian, I'll just go through the notes. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Here's a little tip. You can play, you get a really nice sounding C major sound here with the sharp 4 by playing some clusters with the harmonics. You could play a G here, an F sharp there, an E here, and the C. Sounds really nice. So if you want to get the sound of that, you could put that in a looper pedal and just play your G, or you can play a B here and you get the major 7. Check it out. B, F sharp, sharp 11, E, major third, and put a C in below like this. Listen. Pretty too. I actually quite like this voicing. Listen to this one. Now, we don't need to put in the major 7 there to give us Lydian, because I've got 9, sharp 11, so D, F sharp, E, and C. That's really pretty. Listen. Now, if I play the melody, that opening C major section, that works beautifully over that sound, doesn't it? So, the chord sequence, like I said, C major, going to A minor, which is really the relative of C. Now you could go, well, do I need to think of a different scale or mode over the A minor? Not really. If we want to play a hip-sounding modal choice over the A minor, A Dorian will work with no avoid notes. And check this out. A Dorian and C Lydian are from the same parent major. So the Dorian is built off the second step of a major scale. A Dorian is from G major, isn't it? As 1 sharp, the F sharp. C Lydian, also from G major, right? So when we're playing from the C, we go to A minor. Such are the same notes, just going from A to A here. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, right? Now, when it goes to the B flat sus, or even B flat 13 sus, kind of nice, then we're going to change note choices. We got to. The C Lydian isn't going to work, right? Now, I'll play a few things, and Stanley plays some interesting choices. He also uses some triadic stuff on this. A very simple choice over the sus chord is to play a mixolydian, because the mixolydian has a natural fourth. However, be careful when you're using mixolydian over sus. There are plenty of other things we can use too, but I'm going to keep this simple because I want to focus on the Lydian on the C before we get into other things. When you're playing over a sus chord, there's no third being played in the chord. It's a suspended fourth in there, right? So we're going to have a B flat but an E flat present. If you start playing a D and an E flat together, you're going to get that rub, so be careful with that, okay? You can play it, but just don't hang around on that major third there. It'll sound rough, okay? So that means we can keep this fairly simple modally, right? Then into our A Dorian. Then we go to that sus, right? Right, and then back to C. Yeah. Now, what you've got to do too is be comfortable with landing on that sharp 4-2. Don't shy away from it when you're getting used to using a mode, all right? Now, Stanley also uses a couple of cool things. He uses this a couple of times in his solo. He starts playing a triad, it's actually a minor triad, an E minor triad shape over the C major 7, and you can also sustain that idea over A minor. Now let's look at why. And we'll look at these licks. I'll play them along with, I got the track lined up on YouTube here. So what I'll do is I'll just drop these in as little clips so you can hear them, but I'm going to talk about them. He does a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. The very first thing actually I'm going to talk about is he plays a line using the notes from C Lydian or A Dorian, if you like, but it's really, I'm thinking of it as C Lydian at this point, and he plays this line, he goes, now, if we play that, okay, over a C major, I'm playing fourth intervals. I'm playing B to E, A to D, G to C, F sharp, sharp 4 to B, E to A, D to G, all right, and back down to C. So it's very pretty, that. Just consecutive fourth intervals harmonized through C Lydian. He does that as a descending line around 1 minute and 54 of the track. If you do a search for this Song to John Part 2 on YouTube, you can find it. I found one that I think is, I hope, Stanley's official site. It's Stanley Clarke topic, right? It's got quite a lot of subscribers. I'm hoping it's Stanley's site. Anyway, so let me just play it for you. This won't be super hi-fi because I'm afraid I'm just using the mic to pick this up, but this will give you an idea. Check it out. He plays this blazing run before it, and then he plays this great line. Check it out. I'll play along. Woo. Right? So there it is, right? So, there we could hear Stanley using just a sequence of intervals. And I often have students of mine run modes using intervals, not just running them up stepwise through seconds, but running them up through thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, right? So what a nice way to learn a mode and the structure and the sound of it than playing it in different intervallic sequences. And there's Stanley playing this really nice descending fourth idea over that C Lydian sound. It's beautiful, it sounds really great. And he just lines it up perfectly so it drops him back down to the tonic C when he gets back to the bass. And one of the things about the track is you'll notice when you listen to it, I mean, it feels like I would be surprised if there was any overdubs on this. This feels like a live in the studio performance from these three monsters, these amazing players. And you know, Stanley is right back in onto the bass function to support Chick's beginning of Chick's solo, because they're just trading constantly through this track. Once they play the melody, they're just trading sequences between them, a chord progression, right? Now, the next line is this very cool one. And this one, Stanley's taking an E minor triad, right? And he's shredding on this. And again, it's on upright, which is even more stunning. And he's playing this over the C major. And as I recall, and we'll listen to it, he's playing this over that, but he's also playing the same idea over A minor. So if we take an E minor triad, I'm sure you guys know, it's a E, G, B, right? Root, minor, third, perfect, fifth, right? If you play those three notes over a C major 7, well, it's the major third of C, the E, the G is the perfect fifth, and the B is the major 7. So those three notes are just the top part of a major 7 arpeggio, right? C major 7. However, if you relate those to an A minor, the E is the perfect fifth, the G is the minor 7, and the B is the 9, which is very pretty. So you could play the same motific development based around that E minor triad over both the chords, right? They're very related, yeah? So that's what Stanley plays. He doubles the B. He goes like this. Then he plays like a shredding line back down to C there. So let's listen to it. So he goes into an E flat major triad after that when it changes to the B flat sus. Now, how does that work? Well, the B flat is the root of a B flat sus. The G is the 13th or 6th, making it kind of more like an implied B flat 13 sus sound. And the E flat is the sus 4 over B flat. The perfect note choices. I noticed that the note G stays constant between the two triads. Right, you see? So you could play it this way too. If you want to rake across 3 strings, you can do that. If not, 2 strings, right? I think I prefer it this way. Right? Yeah. Anyway, let's listen to the track of this little bit and we'll see what we think. Here we go. So there you have it. That is an amazing, I mean, just an incredible, like, stamina too. I love the fact that Stanley's just incredible, like, technique, and that fill at the end as well is ridiculous. So you can hear there he is using it. I actually did it with the rate that time. Right, then to E flat major. Right, just a workout for the plucking hand, you know. So when you're listening to these tracks, you know, as opposed to some of these kind of like, I watched some weird reaction video to this the other day, and a person talking about it just didn't really talk about the music at all. It was just like this kind of really nebulous analysis. But, you know, it's worth getting inside these things. You know, like look at it musically, you know, rather than if it makes you think of the color orange or something. You know, like actually, let's get into this. You know, like there is some musical, like gold nuggets in this. You know, like the Jocko video, you know, we looked at last time. So that triadic idea alone is gold, right? So you could take that and start looking and go, so Stanley's kind of using these 2 triads that are present within these different chords, right? And that E minor structure or shape is present in a C major 7. It's also the upper part of an A minor 9, isn't it? So he can play that through them. And then what he does is he changes it partially to then fit the B flat sus. He keeps the note G constant. So it creates a nice sense of, the idea feels continuous, and it feels like it's one idea, doesn't it? It's linked together, it flows, and it's really beautiful, that. Well, you can extrapolate lots of different variations from that by superimposing the same triad but in a different way, or different triads, all right? So I would look at that and think, well, man, I love that. What if, we wanted to move a triadic shape around? So we've got that E minor shape, right, over our C, right? So if I have that sound and I want to think, oh, right. So what I did there was I used triads consecutively running up through C Lydian or A Dorian, right, all the way, and then I shifted when it went to the B flat sus in my mind into a different mode or scale then, thinking possibly, like I said, Mixolydian or triads that would harmonize with the B flat sus. So there on the B flat sus, did that, okay? So I was kind of using a sequence there that was, I started off with an F minor triad, and then I used some other intervals as well, fourths, etc., which is kind of inspired from Stanley's original. See what I mean? So again, it's like a springboard, isn't it? We take one idea and suddenly it's like a launching pad, and that's how it should be for you. I'd also like to say this: if you're studying with someone and your teacher can't verbalize and explain these things and extrapolate stuff from it, I think you're being shortchanged. And I've had quite a few students kind of, when they come to me, they're like, wow, you can actually articulate these things and really put them clearly. Don't accept less than that from a teacher. I don't care if you study with me or anybody, as long as they do a good job teaching you, right? You could go and study with a piano player or a trumpet player and learn this stuff. But it's just really important that if someone's just giving you a kind of nebulous explanation of how it makes them feel emotionally, look, this track makes me feel incredibly excited and uplifted and happy listening to it. You can probably tell after 40 years of having listened to this record, I'm still pretty excited about it, all right? That isn't mutually exclusive to knowing what you're talking about and being able to musically get inside something and apply some actual analysis to it so you can really figure out what's going on, the techniques of learning how to play over chord changes, all right? So make sure that is, being given to you if you're studying with someone and paying money for it, all right? Because you can tell these videos are free. You don't have to pay a dime to watch this video, nor do I expect you to. If you want to support the channel, hey, I love it. If you want to buy something from the website, if you want to study with me privately, you know what to do, rufusvelvet.com, links below. But I want to give you some stuff that's the value here, right? So we've got these triads we could use. Now what I did on this idea, ascending on that long ascending triad, I used triads derived off every step of C Lydian, which morphed into A minor, which is A Dorian, which is from the same parent scale of G major. Then when it got to the B flat sus, I changed modes there, right? But instead of just kind of thinking up and down a Mixolydian kind of dominant type mode or this or that, I started thinking of an interval sequence, right? I used an F minor triad shape and then fourth intervals, which also reflect the sus4, which has a fourth in the chord, all right? How do I play it on the bass? A real simple voicing. I'll give it to you now. This is like a B flat 7 sus. I'm putting the 7th in. I'm playing a B flat here, the minor 7, the A flat, and I'm playing the sus4, the E flat on top. All right? So there's a lot of different ideas. Once I start getting to that Lydian sound, I start seeing and hearing these different patterns. So, Stanley was going. So I just did a little bit of the C, and you heard me modulate, I'm sure, into the B flat sus sound there, right? See? So I went from E minor. What you could do is just take two tonalities, just go from a C major or the A minor, right, up to the B flat sus, practice two different chords, same way I talked about taking Giacomo Savona and taking E major down to the C and practicing something modulating between those two key centers, those two tonalities, and moving back and forth. Just loop those if you want. You don't have to do the whole sequence if you're not ready. That's totally fine. But what I'm saying here is, and I think this is kind of important, give yourself two different tonalities to move between, so you're not just kind of kind of noodling around on just like one thing. Oh, I'm just practicing Lydian. It's like, okay, but why don't you practice two chords? We use two different Lydian modes, or practice going from C major to A minor, which is kind of Lydian too, if we think of it as A Dorian at this point. And then you go to that B flat sus. Now you've got to really change key, change tonality, and play an idea, but move it through those chord changes, right? Now you have to think more, right? Keep it constant, yeah? That's some really good practice. Don't forget to support the channel. You can do the buy me a coffee thing. You can hit me up for lessons. If playing chords on the bass is tough for you, I've got a chord video on my website you can download and plenty of other stuff. And let me know if you dug this. I was thinking we might do this with some other classic compositions and kind of look at how certain tunes use a specific mode to give that composition a sound. So, see you on the next one.